As a result of the senseless slaughter of 20 children and 6 adults on December 14, 2012, the nation, and especially politicians, are crying for change. And the only answer that's currently on the table is a change in the gun laws in the wake of the disaster. Now, I agree that something must be done to help keep our children safe and guns out of the hands of those would-be spree shooters, but I do not feel that a ban on weapons for those that follow the law is a proper response in an attempt to prevent guns from falling into the hands of these psychologically disturbed criminals. Now, to understand why gun bans do not keep guns out of the hands of criminals, it's important to look at where criminals get their guns, who actually gets affected by gun bans, and what actions could be taken to prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands without the need for a gun ban. Now, my name is Keith Lee, and today I'm going to talk to you about where criminals get their guns, who is actually affected by gun bans, and what steps can be taken to help prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands. Now, personally, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and there are many violent crimes committed each year with the use of firearms. And living in some of the areas that I grew up in, I was exposed to the criminal element and was able to witness people engaged in criminal activity, and it helped me to better understand the motivation and thought process of some of those individuals. Now, a question that needs to be addressed is, where do criminals get their guns from? Well, criminals don't buy their guns from stores generally. They always purchase them illegally. And that would be from, the black market or other illegal sources. They also purchase guns illegally, sometimes from legitimate sources like backdoor sales from certain shady gun shop owners, or from gun shows that generally do not require a background check. Now, also, another way they get firearms is by people buying them legally and then selling them on the street and reporting them stolen to the police. Now, another method that criminals use is that they steal firearms from law-abiding citizens. One of the methods that I learned that they use is that sometimes they'll watch tractor-trailer drivers, and they'll get to know their routines, and when they would go out of town on a long run, they would burglarize their homes, and oftentimes they would have firearms in their houses. Now, another place that criminals often get their firearms is from people's homes and vehicles, and unfortunately, due to the nature of criminals, it would be friends, family members that they knew. Like, say, Jimmy's grandpa has an awesome gun collection. Well, he would instantly become a target and get burglarized. So now that we have a little bit more knowledge about where criminals get their guns, we need to consider who actually gets affected by gun bans. Now, according to Lucy Madison from CBS News, in her article from January 10th, 2013, titled "Biden, Gun Violence Proposals to Obama by Tuesday," the current proposal for new gun laws are to include a reinstatement of the assault weapons ban from 1994 that expired in 2004. They also want to have restrictions or a ban placed on all high-capacity magazines for firearms, and they want to add new universal background checks. Now, law-abiding citizens are usually the people that get affected by gun bans. Now, the only people that get affected by laws are those who follow them. And unfortunately, criminals do not go through legal channels to purchase their firearms, so laws and gun bans generally do not restrict them in any way. Not to mention, weapons manufacturers lose money and are sometimes ordered to stop producing certain weapons, as well as gun shop owners losing revenue by the ban of certain weapons and assault weapons. And this all helps to threaten our economy, which is already not in a good state. Now, according to Jack Lee, an article that he wrote titled "7 Reasons Why an Assault Weapons Ban Will Fail to Reduce Violent Crimes," many gun control advocates, including Michael Bloomberg, admit that an assault weapons ban will not prevent mass shootings. In addition, while the last assault weapons ban was in effect, 14 mass shootings still occurred during that time period, including the horrible 1999 shooting at Columbine High School. After considering who gets affected by gun bans and stricter gun laws, it's important next that we would discuss what steps can be taken to prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands without a gun ban. Now, a few steps that we could take would be having gun owners take more precaution in securing their firearms, like requiring all guns to be either kept in a gun safe or have a trigger lock installed when not in use, and also have that result in misdemeanor offenses for those being caught not following those laws. Also, we need to have more in-depth background checks for any type of firearm from any source, including private gun sales and gun shows, which generally do not require background checks. And I would also ask that they implement a more in-depth background check that includes a list of people that live at the location where the gun is going to be kept. Now, they should also think about passing some laws that make negligent gun owners that do not secure their firearms with trigger locks or gun safes liable with misdemeanor offenses. And perhaps if they want to go a step further, if a gun owner's firearm was found to be stolen or taken due to it being unsecured and it was used in a homicide, that the owner possibly get charged with some new type of felony charge, say perhaps something like negligent possession of a firearm that resulted in the commission of a homicide. And therefore that gun owner would then become unable to own firearms any longer. Now, although nothing is 100% foolproof, with just a little forethought, there can be steps taken to help prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands. Now, I've discussed how criminals get their guns, who actually gets affected by gun bans, and what steps can be taken to help prevent guns from falling into the wrong hands without a gun ban. Because gun bans are not a solution to America's problems with spree shooting, mass murdering criminals. The only people that are affected by gun bans and laws are those that follow and abide by them. After all, our forefathers saw it necessary for the Second Amendment in the event that it would be necessary for average citizens to bear arms to protect either ourselves, our loved ones, or our way of life.